Well, thanks again for doing this morning.
Happy to.
Let's begin early on. Who were when you were growing up, who were the most influential people in your life?
Probably coaches and teachers. Obviously my parents. But if you step outside of the family, it would be, I would say, first coaches, teachers.
Football player?
Not much.
Well, I know you have a rich history there with the institution.
Yeah.
I love that. What sort of values did you get from your coaches that have helped you in your life?
Well, I think certainly team sports give you the ability to work with a team and to be a part of a team. And I found that no matter where you go in life, you always end up being a part of a team. And so I think learning early to function with a team and to be able to do that. I think learning from defeat was good. And part of my high school career, we had a lot of defeat, and I think that was good. Learning the pain of quitting and not wanting to repeat that was important.
In college, there's a story about your interest in sales, selling memory books at Northwestern.
Right.
Would you mind going into that a little bit of that for me? What was that about? What did you do?
Well, actually, they were memory books, scrapbooks, that had a montage of the campus, the Northwestern University campus, on the cover, and they were hardbound, and then it would say, Sally Smith, Northwestern University, for the 4 years. And they were very attractive, mostly to the girls, to record the memorabilia of college. So what I did, I actually became the sales representative for a very small firm. They were looking for someone to do this, and I sold it in the sorority houses, in the dorms. And I'd set up I'd go in to make a pitch at lunch or dinner to the girls, basically, and then have a booth in their lobby, and they'd come up and buy afterwards. And it worked quite well, so then I started branching out and selling it to other schools. I sold it to the bookstores. Tried to get other representatives on different campuses, but that didn't work too well because as soon as they got enough money for a little beer, they would drop it. But actually, it became quite a flourishing business.
What did it teach you about the importance of team building and sales?
Well, it taught me a few things. One, it taught me that I could build a sales organization. So that was really important for my belief that I could be an entrepreneur and I could be successful. Secondly, it taught me the importance of selecting the right teammates, because I would get people on different campuses, and if I got the right people, it worked. If I got the wrong people, it didn't work. And it also taught me the importance of everybody having similar goals, because I had a goal to building something of value, and some others did, but some others just had a goal of getting a little bit out of it and being comfortable, and that was it. So getting the right teammates was important. I learned that.
What sold you on insurance? You could have sold, judging by your skills, you could have sold just about anything.
Well, I think that's true. But what I liked about insurance was that insurance, the only limitations in insurance are self-imposed. You literally could take 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and find somebody to talk to sell insurance. And I liked that. I didn't want to have external inhibitions. And that was really what attracted me to it. And plus, I happened to learn about some people who were making quite a bit of money selling insurance. And I must say I was motivated by that, and those two things attracted me.
The idea of selling insurance in auto dealerships, I hadn't thought of that. How did that idea evolve?
Well, my father had been an automobile dealer, and although I never really wanted to go into that business, I grew up around it, and I used to hear him talk about how people in the business were not really professionally trained, and it was just sort of an afterthought of the business, and yet it was kind of an important service. And having been in the insurance business, I thought to myself, well, what I could do is get professionals, recruit them and train them, get them licensed, and be prepared to be a full insurance agent in the auto dealership, and take it from sort of a poorly managed, sloppy approach to a more professional approach, and that worked.
It wasn't long after you started your own insurance company, the Pat Ryan Insurance Company. What are some of the key ingredients for successful business and for a successful businessman?
Well, I think one of the key ingredients for any successful business is to have the right reason for being. I mean, you have to have a reason for being in business where you can differentiate yourself from others. But in terms of organizational building, I found this principle of multiplying yourself through others, getting others to be able to do what you could do. If you just do it yourself, then there's that inhibition. You're limited to how much you can do. If you can get a large number of other people to repeat what you do, and that's really the principle that I picked up, that caused the business to grow from a one-man operation to really an international business.
What kind of qualities do they have to have?
I think very importantly they have to be willing to pay the price. They have to have drive. They have to have character, high qualities of character, very important. And it's not just sales ability, it's doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. They have to have a willingness to put the client or the individual first and do what's right for the client or the individual. And they have to have empathy with people, and because you can't put the client or the individual first unless you empathize with them. So I think empathy is an important quality. Good interpersonal skills, like people, but also being willing to go the extra mile and pay the price for success.
One of the things that a friend of mine who sells insurance told me that she really likes it. She got into it fairly late in life, but she said, what I like is I'm providing a service that people need. I really feel like I'm helping someone when I set them up with the right policy and the right coverage. How does that relate to the way you see your business?
I think she's absolutely right. It's very important. In order to get people to sell something, they have to believe in it. And the belief is that you're providing something of real value to the individual, whether it's a life policy or a medical policy or an auto policy, a commercial policy to a business, that you're doing something that's important for that individual or for that organization. And I think most people want to do something that's socially redeeming. I mean, they want to have an important role in society. And insurance has that. In fact, in the commercial insurance business, which is our core business today, commerce doesn't exist anywhere in the world without insurance, because people won't invest, won't risk their capital unless they can protect it with insurance.
When you're looking at the kind of business you're in, you're talking about a global economy, global coverage. How do you pull all of those myriad issues together to acquire the businesses you do? The strategic sense, I suppose, is what I'm looking for.
Well, strategically, we look for businesses that blend with our core strategy, which is fundamentally to provide advice and consultancy and service to the commercial and industrial world, basically large and mid-sized corporations. Then we have another strategy for smaller commercial businesses. So we're constantly trying to find strategic niches to bring value added to that universe, commercial and industrial. And then, very importantly, we believe that it's become a global business. So we have, through several mergers and acquisitions, now expanded into 110 countries. So we truly have a global reach where we can serve a client anywhere in the world, China, South Africa, wherever they have an investment, wherever they do business, we can handle it for them. That's very important. Now, doing that, you have to have a very healthy respect for the individual national cultures, which we do. We have nationals running each one of our businesses everywhere in the world. But then we try to bring in the total Aon culture with that national culture.
Let's talk about the Aon culture. Let's go to the Gaelic?
Right.
Perhaps you'd like to explain.
An is a Gaelic word that means unity. And the reason we chose that name has nothing to do with my Irish-American heritage. It has to do with the fact that we were bringing many companies together through merger into one. And we needed a name that meant something to the employees. And so we found that Gaelic words were short and punchy and translated into foreign languages, and they had meaning. And so bringing many into one, the word "an" means one, oneness, or unity in Gaelic. So that became a very nice foundation for meaning, having the meaning of what we were attempting to achieve.
How do you express that in your corporate culture?
Well, we express it in a number of different ways. The corporate culture, as I said earlier, is designed to put the client or the insured number one, the employees number two, and the shareholder number three. So the bringing together for everybody coming together on behalf of the client to make them one. Coming together as one company, we have an interdependent culture where we bring two or more of our Aon units together on behalf of the client. That's another unifying coming together as one. So we use it that way.
At this point in your life, how do you measure your success as a business person?
I measure the success as a business person in several ways. First of all, I'm motivated by building. I'm motivated by how large and successful can this company become. But I'm very motivated by helping others to achieve their potential. So seeing people within the organization, we now have 40,000 employees globally, seeing people realize their potential, creating a culture for them to realize their potential. So the realization of the individual's potential translating into the organization and realizing its potential is very much a measurement for me today. Additionally, I look at how, as a business person, I can help impact the communities in which we do business. And that's very important to us. And Aon is an important member of the communities in which it does business.
And I do want to ask about that. You have a very clear commitment to community here in the Chicagoland area, and I know in the various subsidiaries of the company around the world. But let's talk about what you've done here. What do you see corporate responsibility being in the home community?
I think, first of all, corporate responsibility is both at home and then in the places that you do business, but starting with at home. One corporate responsibility is to keep creating jobs. I mean, I think one of the most important things for a business is to create jobs. But then it's also to be a real participant in the community, to be involved in community activities such as education, community activities such as creating jobs for those less fortunate. Frankly, making the community in which you do business a better place to live, a higher quality of life, therefore supporting the cultural activities of that community. So if you deal with education and culture, quality of life, you make it better for your employees. And it's really in enlightened self-interest, too, because if the community is a good place to live and work, your company will do better, and you'll attract higher quality people. So when people say to me, well, you're spending corporate money, shareholder money, outside of the company, is that the right thing to do? I can tie it back and say it is the right thing to do for the community, but it helps the company because we can attract and keep better quality people.
There are quite a few I'd like to ask you about. The 4Kids program. Let's start there.
The 4Kids program was something that we really liked. I think working with youth is something that all of us should do. So we've had a series of different activities to get children more involved, to get them involved in the arts, to get them involved in sports, to get them involved in constructive activities so that they're directed and motivated to improve themselves and to get out of the kinds of activity that nobody wants to see them in, probably starting with themselves. So for kids, attracted industry to support various activities for children by bringing the equipment that's necessary, because in many of the school districts and many of the communities, they don't have the necessary tools to give the children to be able to take on these activities. So it was sporting equipment, it was artistic equipment, it was, you know, dancing shoes, and it just wonderful things for the children to be able to get more involved in activities outside of school.
Get them off to a good start.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago Cares.
Chicago Cares. That's another good one. We like to get our AON people involved in the community. And Chicago Cares is a way to do that, where you'd have a whole group of AON employees go out on a Saturday and help paint homes or do carpenter work, and you know, just to get involved, to help people. But really what it does is it makes them feel very good about themselves also. And frankly, it makes them feel good about their company because their company is sponsoring that. So it's kind of a three-win proposition. It's good for the people that are being helped, it's good for the people that are helping, and it's good for the organization.
There's, of course, the Pathway Center for Children.
Mm-hmm. Now that's not AON, that's personal. But my wife and I founded Pathway Center for Children, which is a clinic in Glenview, Illinois, that provides physical, occupational, and speech therapy, basically for children. Well, I should say for children, and starting with newborns, to intervene early so that you can get rid of, in the very early formative stages, the physical or speech challenges, and then developing occupational therapy. It's worked extremely well. We work with 250 children a week, and the success stories are, you know, they're feel-good stories.
You can make so much of a difference at that age.
Early intervention is critical.
What about the Sherman Park Boys and Girls Club?
That's up in Milwaukee. And I came from that community. My mother went to high school a couple of blocks away from that community. That's now basically an urban area that's mostly African American, and they needed a new facility for the Boys and Girls Clubs, and we decided to make our family decided to make a major contribution in honor of my mother, so it's called the Mary Ryan Boys and Girls Club, and she's become quite famous because of that in Milwaukee.
That's wonderful. Would also like to ask a bit about your work for Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
You did make a contribution to football in several ways.
Well, my contribution when I was there was quite limited, so I have had to make up for that. Well, actually, there's something about the 4 years you spend at a college or university that tugs at your heart, and that's certainly been the case for me in Northwestern. And I've been active there. I've been a trustee since 1978. I now serve as chairman of the board of trustees, which is very invigorating. And quite frankly, I'm very involved and have been to help support. So we've done our part over the years.
So you've done your part, definitely. Especially with the football stadium.
Well, that was an interesting issue because the football stadium was about to be condemned. It was a disaster, and it had had no capital put into it since the 20s, and it was the most user-unfriendly major facility in the nation, in my opinion. But it's not the kind of thing that a university can easily put money into because there's so many other needs. But I believed it was really important to do. So in order to lead a capital campaign that was guaranteed to succeed, we made a major gift. Or otherwise it wouldn't have gotten off the ground. It took a major gift to do it. And I was very anxious to have a capital campaign to correct this problem, because I thought it was important for the university in many, many ways, the students, the administration, the alumni, the friends of the university, and just a statement about the university. So we did that.
I saw where Arnold Weber just stepped down and became President Emeritus.
Yes, he had served as chancellor, which was the plan, and he did a wonderful job both as president and as chancellor.
We had a chance to meet him a couple of years back when he was named a laureate.
Right.
Wonderful fellow. I'm coming to the end of the questions. As you look back over your life, what are the things that have given you the most satisfaction?
Well, clearly my family. I have 3 wonderful sons and a wonderful wife. I mean, I think family is the foundation of our society, and so that's given me the greatest satisfaction. And I think to be able to have a wonderful family means that you've probably done some things right, because it doesn't happen by accident. And then I think clearly having Aon become an important force in our society for the creation of jobs, for the providing of very valuable services and products to millions of people around the world is very gratifying. And frankly, to be in a position to be the leader of 40,000 employees, trying to set a culture that they can thrive in, that's pretty gratifying too.
There was a comment attributed to you in one of the articles I read about, at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, when you look in the mirror, you like what the person stands for. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, I think that's really critical. I measure success differently depending upon the individual, and I know some very, very successful people who've given their life in the service of others for very little pay. Coaches, teachers. So to me, the most important thing is to look in the mirror and see what's looking back at you and like it. I know an awful lot of people that look in the mirror and see, some tall, handsome, curly-haired guy when they're short and fat and not so handsome. And I think it's really important to understand who you are and then to feel good about it. And so feeling good about yourself is the number one, I think, need every human being has. And having dignity, feeling, that's why I think a job is so important. So we try to get jobs for the homeless in a program we're working with now, because the dignity of having a job. So looking in the mirror, understanding what's looking back at you and liking it.
I've come to the end of my questions. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
I do have one final question, and that is, what was your reaction when you learned that you'd been nominated as a laureate?
I was shocked, but very, very happy. It was, it's a great honor. And particularly because I'm not from Illinois to begin with. Initially I'm from Wisconsin, but I've made my home here for 40-some years, and to be recognized coming into a community and saying you've made a major impact, which is what the laureate statement is all about, it's a very good feeling.
Thanks very much.
Okay.